Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. Okay, my name is Engineer Dr. Azlan Osman. Will be teaching you this under professional engineers topic introductions to law. Okay, this is going to be our first class. Uh, Then because of the next Monday will be a public holiday, so we have synchronous lectures. Okay, and then uh, for the today's topic that we are going to discuss is will be introduction to law for the engineers. Um, okay, so I will share you the slide here. Okay, so uh, the overview for this subject, the uh, outline, uh, the introductions to the Malaysian legal system, uh, the the next one will be the contract law, law of tort, intellectual property law, employment law. And then the objective for this class is to explain the main concept of law in Malaysia that are relevant to the engineering context and describe the basic principles of law govern the above topics. So now we go try to understand what is actually the meaning of law. Okay, you can see the picture here. So a few group of people, uh, they are trying to play a ball here. You can see, hey, look, a ball. Can we play? What are the rules? And then it seems that no one knows what are the rules and then which rules that they need to follow. Okay, you can see here on the next picture new rules. So then they have decided that when you play a ball, a football, it shouldn't touch with the hand. So you can see here, originally law and rules were invented to regulate social interaction in a peaceful manner. So these are the important things to understand is to regulate the social interaction. So, and it must be in a peaceful manner. So if there is no proper law or rules, so everything will go chaos or haywire. That's why uh, the law is required to regulate a social interactions and must be in a peaceful manner. So now we go to the definition of law. As according to the Oxford Dictionary, law is the body of enacted or customary rules recognized by a community as binding. Okay, so the words binding in law is actually is a legally enforceable, meaning that if you sign a binding contract and don't fulfill your end of bargain, the other party can take you to court. So this is very important. So, as according to the Webster Dictionary, a binding uh, custom or practice of a community, a rule or mode of conduct or action that is prescribed or formality recognized as binding by supreme controlling authority or made obligatory by sanction made. Okay, the term, uh, the term supreme controlling, which is the highest authority, then it should be made obligatory, so which is compulsory and by sanction made. Okay, what is meant by sanction made is the official permission or approval for action. So this is what according to the Webster dictionary. Okay, as according to the Sir John Salmon, the body of principle recognized and applied by the state in the administration of justice. Okay, according to John Austin, a command set by a superior being state to an inferior being, which is the individual. The superior being is the state, the government, and should be enforced by sanction. Okay, that thus we can conclude it, law is a set of rules. The set of rules developed over a long period of time that regulates interactions that people have with each other and which set standards of conduct between individuals and between individual and government and which are enforceable through sanction. Mm. It has to be approval for the action, so it requires the official permission. Okay, so now we move on to law and ethics. Okay, ethics refer to what is right and what ought to be, not simply accepting what is, which is a set of moral principle or values that governs the conduct of an individual or a group. Set standards of good and bad as opposed to right and wrong. So ethic is more on the conduct of the individual. Okay, the purpose of law is to govern the conduct of all members of the society, while ethics guides individual in ascertaining the soundness of rule and their impact upon a relationship. What lawful conduct is not always ethical conduct. The legal behavior is not necessarily ethical behavior. That is, the law may permit something that would be ethically wrong. So, example here, if you work with a foreign supplier, okay, it is legal. It is legal working with a foreign supplier, uh, but not ethical with the labor practices. And then sometimes if you publish a book, is ethical but is illegal conduct, exposing uh, the government secret if the author is a government servant. So another example, ethical but illegal. For example, taking a child away from an abusive parent when you were not directly related to the said child. When you have no relation, you cannot take away these children. And then another example, legal but unethical. Say, for example, business is illegal, but to get a job, to get a business, using the under table, and then you have to bribe the people is unethical. So this is the example uh, between the what it can is permission, what is not being permitted based on laws and ethics. Okay, the major legal system. Okay, we have the uh, civil law. Civil law based around a written codified body of laws, which is a comprehensive system of rules and principles usually arranged in codes and easily accessible to citizens and juries, mostly in continental Europe, Central and South America. Common law, the body of laws and procedures created by the judiciary, the all the judges, and applied via the doctrine of precedent. Okay, it is stated as a principle of the government policy. The bulk of the law is usually found in case law, but statute is playing an increasing role. For example, England and almost all of the British former colonies. So the case law is established by the outcome of the former cases, which is the reduction of the judge decision to uh, writing and published in a specific books. Okay, and then we have the religious law is based on the religious teaching. Okay, classification of law. Okay, we have public law. Okay, uh, which is the that govern the relationship between the individual and the state. Say for the government is only body that can make decision on the right of individual and must act within the law. A citizen can ask for judicial review if they are unhappy with the decision of an uh, authoritative body. So, in public law, we have the three types of public law. Constitution law defines the structure of the government and the rights of the individuals under that government. And then it is used to create laws on how different levels of government can act of a human right. Then the second one is the administrative law, regulates the duties of the exercise of powers by administrative authorities used by ordinary citizens who want to challenge decisions made by the government. And then the last type of the public law is the criminal law, concerns those acts or omission mistakes resulting from a neglect which are offenses against the state and for which offender is liable to be tried and if found guilty will be punished. It also is been used by the government to prosecute and punish people who break the laws. So this is the criminal law. Okay, the international law. So it's a body of law which composed for its greater part of the principles and rules of conduct which states feel themselves bound to observe and consequently commonly to observe in their relations with each other. And then we have the private law concerned with the matters that affect the right and duties of individuals among themselves. Okay, a public law have a branch of law that deals with the relationship between individual or institution rather than relation between these and the state. For example, we have the contract law, law of torts, property law, civil law, labor law, commercial law, and corporations law. Okay, so this is the figure showing that this classification of law, which has been discussed just now, we have a public law, private law, and international law. Some extra notes here. The under international law, public law prevails with the state. We have the treaty law, law of sea, international criminal law, international humanitarian law, and under this also we have the private law. Law governs the conflict between individual and part of the municipal law. Okay, the main sources of Malaysian law, we have a written law, unwritten law, and the Islamic law. The written law is the federal and state constitution, legislation enacted by the parliament and state assemblies, uh, subsidiary legislation with other body, example for the universities. And under the written law, we have the principle of the English law applicable to the local circumstances. We have the common law, equity law, and then the judicial decision custom, and the final one is the Islamic law. Okay, court as a source of law. We have two basic distinction. Okay, the trial versus appellate court and the civil versus criminal courts. Okay, what is the trial court? The trial court hear case at the first instance, that is to make a ruling on the issues of fact and law. Okay, uh, whereas the appellate court reconsider the application of the legal principle to a case already heard by a lower court. The appellate court is only review the claims that the trial judge or jury made a legal mistake. So when come to the civil courts, the courts that hear those areas of law which govern the relationship between uh, legal person, example, the contract, employment, tort, whereas the criminal court hears those wrongs which are sufficiently important for society to impose certain penalties on the wrongdoer. Okay, here we can see this main court structure. The main court structure, we have the superior court and we have the subordinate courts. So under the superior court, we have the federal court, special court, court of appeal, high court in Malaya, high court in Sabah and Sarawak. We have the session court, magistrate court, and court for children. Okay. Okay. Federal court. Okay, the federal court is the highest judicial authority in the country. It was established pursuant to Article 121, bracket 2 of the federal constitution. Its decision binds all the courts below. The federal court hears appeals from the court of appeal. Okay, leave to appeal must be always be obtained prior to proceeding with the appeal. The federal court, which is the court of appeal, and the two high courts are classified as superior court, while the session courts and the magistrate court are classified as the subordinate courts. Okay, this federal court also is being headed by the chief justice. It consists of the chief justice, the president of the court of the appeal, and two chief judges of the two high courts and seven other judges. All its members are appointed by Yang di-Pertuan Agong, acting on the advice of the Prime Minister after consulting the Conference of Rulers. And then every proceeding in the federal court is heard and disposed of by three judges or a larger uneven number as the Chief Justice may determine. In the absence of the Chief Justice, the most senior member of the court shall preside. Federal courts sits at the Palace of Justice in Putrajaya. However, the federal court also goes on the circuit to the major towns of Penang, Ipoh, Kota Baru, Johor Bahru, Alor Setar, Kuantan, Malacca, Kuching, and Kota Kinabalu. Then the Court of Appeal was established in 1994 pursuant to the Article 1211B of the Federal Constitution. It consists of the President of the Court of Appeal and 15 Court of Appeal judges. The President Court of Appeal and the Court of Appeal judges are appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, acting on the advice of the Prime Minister. After consulting the Conference of Rulers before tendering his advice, the Prime Minister must consult the Chief Justice and the President of the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal is the final court of appeal on matters decided by the High Court in its appellate or revisionary jurisdiction. Okay, special court. And then the special court was established pursuant to Article 182 of the Federal Constitution to hear any action, civil or criminal, instituted by or against the Yang di-Pertuan Agong or any of the nine Malay rulers. However, uh, by Article 183 of Federal Constitution, no action, civil or criminal, shall be instituted against the Yang di-Pertuan Agong or any of the rulers of states in respect of anything done or omitted to be done by him in his personal capacity except with the consent of the Attorney General personally. Okay, the special court has an exclusive jurisdiction to try all offences committed in the Federation by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong or any of the rulers of the states, and all civil cases by or against the Yang di-Pertuan Agong or any of the rulers of the states, notwithstanding where the cause of action arose. Then the next one is the High Court. In Malaysia, there are two High Courts having the same jurisdiction and status. That is the High Court in Malaya and the High Court in Sabah and Sarawak. The High Court in Malaya consists of the Chief Judge and 47 judges. High Court in Sabah and Sarawak consists of a Chief Judge and 10 judges. The High Court have unlimited jurisdiction in all criminal matters other than matters involving Islamic law. The high courts have the original jurisdiction in criminal cases punishable by death. So only the high court can judge or make decision for the case of the punishable by death. Okay, session courts. A session court has the jurisdiction to hear both criminal and civil cases and is presided by a session court judge. So under criminal jurisdiction, a session court has the jurisdiction to try all the offenses other than offenses punishable with death. Okay, except for the sentence of death, a session court may pass any sentence, including the natural life sentence. Okay, the session court, you see, they have the exception here. The session except they cannot give the jurisdiction for the death punishment. Okay, the civil jurisdiction, the session court is empowered to deal with all the claims. Okay, where the amount in dispute is more than 25,000 up to the value of 250,000 and also has unlimited jurisdiction to hear the matter. Right? Hear the matter involving the motor vehicle accidents, disputes between landlord and tenant, and distress proceedings. Okay, the magistrate courts for federal territory magistrates are appointed by Yang di-Pertuan Agong on the recommendation of the chief judge. In each state, magistrates are appointed by state authority on the recommendation of the respective chief judges. Okay, and then under this magistrate court, we have the criminal jurisdiction. The first class magistrate has the jurisdiction to try all offences for which the maximum sentence does not exceed 10 years imprisonment or with fine only. However, the magistrate may not impose a term of imprisonment exceeding 5 years. Okay, civil jurisdiction. The first class magistrate has the jurisdiction to hear all action and suits of a civil nature where the amount in dispute or value of the subject matter does not exceed 25,000. Where the amount claimed does not exceed 5,000, you may wish to file your claim in a small claim division of the magistrate's court. For this small claim, the procedure is less formal and you must be prepared to conduct the case yourself, as legal representation lawyer is not permitted. Okay, and then we have the final one, which is the juvenile court for children, was established under the Child Act 2001. Section 2 of the Act defines child as a person under age of 18 years, and for the purposes of the criminal proceedings means a person who has attained the age of 10. Only members and officers of the court and the children who are parties to the case, including their parents and guidance, guardians, are allowed to attend the hearing. Okay, and then if a child is found guilty of an offense, he shall not be imprisoned, but among others may either be sent to an approved school or released on bail. And the legal system that allows an accused person to be temporarily released from custody, usually on the condition that a sum of money guaranteed their appearance at trial. or released after a security has been paid. For capital offenses, the child shall be detained in prison at the pleasure of the ruler. So capital punishment in Malaysia applies to murder, drug trafficking, treason, undermine the government, and waging war against Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Recently, the law has been extended to include acts of terrorism, possession of the firearm, abetting mutiny, armed forces, and etc. So this is the last partner under the Malaysian court structure, which is the juvenile court. We have covered for the all the topics under this introduction to law. Uh, okay, the next class we will discuss on the contract law. So this one will be a face-to-face, a physical meeting. Uh, because of this coming Monday, which is a public holiday, so that's why we are having the asynchronous class. Okay, I think that's all for today. Uh, um, maybe for the next class, if uh, we can discuss further. But for your information, the contract law is important for all of you to give the attention because in our day life, the contract we uh, cannot be avoided dealing with the contract law. So we will discuss further for our next class. So with that, I end up my class for today. Until we meet again the following week. Is that I end up. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and thank you uh, for listening to this uh, synchronous class. Thank you again.